People think HOA rules are just about lawn grass and mailbox colors. But when fake power gets in the wrong hands, it can destroy lives. That morning started just like any other. I was sitting on our front porch, sipping my coffee, and watching my grandpa feed the chickens. He still woke up at 5 a.m., sharp, still moved like a soldier, though his hair had gone white. To the neighborhood kids, he was just Old Man Ray. But to me, he was the strongest man I knew. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you want more Karen and HOA stories. Please listen to the whole story and give me a comment about your feelings. Grandpa bought this house over 40 years ago. Back then, the land was open, no HOA, no fences. Just honest folks living side by side. But over the years, the city expanded and slowly, this area was swallowed into one of those gated suburban developments. The kind with a shiny HOA board and monthly emails that sounded more like threats than community updates. We always kept to ourselves. Grandpa never liked getting involved with HOA business. They're not real law, he'd say. They can't even spell enforcement right. I'd laugh, but he meant it. He saw them as paper tigers with fake badges and too much ego. A new HOA president had been elected a few months back. Her name was Valerie Monroe. Mid-40s, always dressed like she was running for mayor, sunglasses even on cloudy days. And most dangerously, she thought she had real power. It started with small things. Notices for lawn violations, even though we trimmed everything. Then a complaint that Grandpa's shed was too old-fashioned. Eventually, a warning about unregistered property use, because Grandpa let the neighborhood kids practice baseball in our backyard. Grandpa ripped up that letter right in front of her little volunteer who brought it. I told him maybe we should just comply, avoid trouble. But he just gave me a look. I've dealt with real criminals, he said. Not these costume clowns. What I didn't expect was how fast things escalated. The next week, 3 men showed up in black tactical vests. They had radios, fake utility belts, even badges that said Community Compliance Division. I thought they were actual police. They didn't knock. They went straight to the backyard and started snapping pictures of Grandpa's old shed. Grandpa was planting near the fence when he saw them. I heard his voice go from calm to cold in an instant. Who gave you the right to walk on my property? He asked. One of them, a big guy with a shaved head and wraparound sunglasses, replied, HOA enforcement. Your property's in violation. We're inspecting. You have no warrant, Grandpa said. You're trespassing. That's when the guy smirked and stepped forward like he was about to prove something. I was already halfway across the yard, phone in hand, recording everything. I had a bad feeling. Then the big guy shoved Grandpa in the chest. He stumbled back, hit the edge of the planter box. I froze for a second. He looked shocked too, like he hadn't expected someone to actually touch him. He stood up slow, brushed the dirt off his shirt. You really just made the biggest mistake of your life, Grandpa said quietly. But the fake officer just scoffed and said, Oh yeah? What are you gonna do? Call your grandkid? What none of them knew, what Valerie didn't know, was that Grandpa wasn't just a retired cop. He was the former chief of police for the entire county. And the moment he went inside, I knew things weren't going to be the same again. Grandpa didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell. He just wiped the dirt from his hands, turned around, and walked inside the house. I could tell by the way he moved. Something had flipped inside him. The fake HOA guys laughed like they'd won. One of them, the smallest one, pulled out a yellow tag and stuck it on our mailbox. Final warning, it said in bold red letters. Then they got back in their black SUV and drove off like they'd just done something heroic. I stood there shaking, not from fear, from rage. I wanted to chase them, scream, do something, but I followed Grandpa inside instead. He was already in the study, unlocking the old wooden chest he kept under his desk. I'd seen him open it maybe twice in my life. Inside were things no HOA officer would understand. Medals, old service documents, photos of him in uniform, and a leather folder thick, official-looking. He placed the folder on the table and said, Time to remind them who I am. I didn't ask questions. I just recorded everything. He called someone, a contact from his old department, and calmly explained what had happened. The moment he said, "assaulted on my property," the tone on the other end shifted. Fast. "They impersonated law enforcement," Grandpa said. "You know what that means, don't you?" Within 30 minutes, 2 real sheriff cars were parked outside our house. Valerie Monroe showed up 5 minutes later, heels clicking, face red. She tried to act shocked. "This is all a misunderstanding," she said. "Our compliance officers are fully trained volunteers. No harm was meant." One of the deputies turned to her and said, "Ma'am, impersonating a police officer is a felony. Were you aware they wore badges?" Valerie stammered. "Well, I mean, they're just symbolic." The sheriff pulled out his phone, watched my video, and raised an eyebrow. "Symbolic doesn't include body armor and trespassing." Things got worse for her when Grandpa showed them his ID. Even expired, his credentials still held weight. The officer looked at the badge, then at Valerie. "You assaulted the retired police chief of this county, and you sent unlicensed men to do it." Valerie's face drained of color. That moment was golden. She tried to spin it. "We thought he was just an old man refusing to follow rules. We had to act before others disrespected the HOA too." Grandpa looked straight at her and said, "You think authority is about uniforms and fear. Real authority is earned, not printed on fake badges." The officers told Valerie she might be facing criminal charges. She tried to leave, but they stopped her. "You'll need to come with us for questioning," one said. "Bring your HOA paperwork too." But the twist wasn't over yet. That same day, someone from the HOA office, a young man named Kyle, sent me a message. He wrote, "Hey, I work inside. Valerie's been hiding things. You should see the internal complaints we've been getting. There's something way bigger going on than just your grandpa." I replied, "What do you mean?" He said, "She's been using HOA funds to pay those fake enforcers. And she's got a list. Your grandpa wasn't the first target." That's when I knew. This wasn't about just one bad day. This was a cover-up. And we were just the latest in a long line of people she tried to crush. But she picked the wrong family this time. I showed Grandpa the messages from Kyle. He didn't seem surprised. Just calm. Like he already guessed there was more to this. "She's been building something dirty behind the curtains," he said. "And now we've got a thread. Let's pull it." We invited Kyle over that same evening. He was nervous, kept looking over his shoulder. "I could lose my job for this," he said, sitting on the edge of our couch. "But someone has to speak up." He pulled out a flash drive from his pocket and handed it to me. "Everything is in here, complaints, payments, even emails." Valerie used HOA dues to pay off those fake officers. She called them her personal task force. She wanted fear, total control. I plugged it into my laptop, and what I saw was insane. Over 20 complaints from different homeowners, saying they'd been threatened, harassed, even had their locks changed while they were out. And all of them were either elderly, single parents, or people who couldn't fight back. Valerie had been choosing weak targets, people she could scare into silence. But this time, she'd picked a man who'd trained entire police departments, who'd worked undercover, handled hostage negotiations, and built a life on justice. "I'm going to file an official report," Kyle said, his hands shaking. "You guys deserve to know the truth. Everyone does." Grandpa placed a hand on his shoulder. "You're doing the right thing, son. But this goes beyond paperwork now." We started planning. We knew if we pushed too fast, Valerie might destroy the evidence or disappear. So we played it slow. I used my video editing skills to cut together a full timeline, from the fake officers showing up, to the moment Grandpa revealed his ID, to Valerie trying to lie her way out of it. Grandpa called an old friend, a local news anchor who owed him a favor. He agreed to air the story if we had enough proof. And with Kyle's flash drive, we had more than enough. But the biggest twist came 2 days later. Grandpa and I were sitting in the kitchen when we heard tires screech outside. We rushed out. Kyle's car was smashed. The windows were broken, and the flash drive was gone. He stood there, pale, trembling. "They were waiting for me." 2 guys in black hoodies. They didn't say a word, just grabbed it and ran. Grandpa called the station immediately. Within the hour, a police cruiser arrived to take Kyle's statement. But the most chilling part? On the car windshield, someone had left a note. "Back off. This isn't your fight." That changed everything. It meant Valerie had people watching us. People who were willing to break laws to protect her. But now, it wasn't just about exposing the truth. Now it was personal. Grandpa looked at the note, then at me. "I spent my whole life putting people like this behind bars," he said. "We're not backing off. We're going to finish this." That night, Grandpa didn't sleep. Neither did I. He sat at the dining table with his old black notebook, flipping through pages, making calls to people I'd never heard of. Ex-colleagues, retired officers, even a judge he once worked with. It felt like watching an old lion waking up after years of peace. Early morning, he said, "They've crossed the line. If we don't stop them now, they'll do this to someone else. Someone who can't fight back." But here's the real twist. Kyle called us later that day. His voice was shaky, like he'd been crying. "They fired me," he said. "Said I broke confidentiality. My email access is gone. Valerie's locking down everything. And now, my landlord says I have a week to leave. She's close with the HOA board. I think they're trying to ruin my life." That's when Grandpa made his move. He walked into the local sheriff's office, not as a victim, but as a man with connections and proof. He handed them a full report, statements, emails, financial records, and the edited video clips. He also gave the name of someone he suspected was funding Valerie under the table, a shady contractor who'd been getting huge HOA deals. The officers didn't just listen. They took notes, serious ones. "You did half our work already," one of them said. Grandpa didn't smile. "I had to. Your people didn't even question the fake cops who touched me." That hit them hard. Within 48 hours, subpoenas were sent. Valerie's house was searched. HOA office computers were seized. And the contractor? He vanished. Packed up his office overnight and disappeared. But then came the next twist. We got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just our house number on it. Inside was a single photo, our house taken from a distance. At night. Below it, someone had scribbled, "You've been warned. Stop digging." That was the moment I really got scared. "Grandpa," I said, "this isn't just HOA stuff anymore. These people are dangerous." He nodded, but his eyes didn't show fear, just calm fire. "That's why we don't stop now," he said. "They want fear? Let's show them what happens when they push the wrong man." He made another call, this time to a woman named Clarissa, an ex-FBI field agent he'd once trained. She now worked in private investigations. She arrived the next morning in a black SUV, sunglasses on, laptop in hand. Didn't waste time on greetings. "Valerie's involved in deeper stuff," she said. "She's connected to multiple HOA boards across the state. Might be laundering money through fake compliance companies." Grandpa leaned back and whispered, "And here I thought this was about lawn rules." Clarissa smiled. "No, Chief. This is organized fraud, intimidation, and abuse of power. And lucky for us, it's all falling apart now." She had contacts, 2 tech experts, whistleblower attorneys, even someone inside the city council. And just like that, the mission changed. We weren't just fighting fake cops anymore. We were about to take down a system. The next morning started quiet, but it didn't stay that way. Clarissa had already hacked into some old cloud backups from Valerie's compliance company. What we found there changed everything. Invoices, contracts, video clips, all showing Valerie charging homeowners fake fines. Overgrown grass, wrong mailbox color, even kids playing outside too loudly. Each violation had a fee, and all the money going into personal accounts. Hers, the fake enforcers, even a city clerk's. Grandpa shook his head. They weren't running an HOA. They were running a racket. But it got worse. One clip showed an old woman crying on her porch as 2 men, the same fake officers, ripped her unauthorized shed apart with power tools. She screamed, "This is my husband's workshop. He built it before he died." They ignored her. Clarissa looked at us. "She lives 2 streets from here. Want to pay her a visit?" We did. Mrs. Jenkins opened the door like she expected another threat. But when Grandpa introduced himself and said we were building a case, her eyes filled with tears. I thought I was the only one, she whispered. They told me I'd lose my home if I complained. She gave us every document she had. Warning letters, threats, even one that said she owed over $5,000 for property violations. But the biggest twist came when she mentioned a name. Valerie's cousin. He works at the city permit office. He's the one who approved all this. His name's Grant Keller. Clarissa typed it into her laptop. Bingo! This guy's approved 42 fake permits in the past year, all under HOA compliance. No real inspections, just signatures. That gave us our next target. While Clarissa dug deeper, Grandpa made another move. He called a retired judge he once helped in a robbery case. The judge agreed to meet us for coffee. After seeing our files and videos, his face went pale. If even half of this is true, he said, you're sitting on a storm. Grandpa smiled slightly. Good. Let's make it rain. The judge promised to push things to the right hands. Legal contacts, honest city officials, even a local senator he trusted. But Valerie wasn't going down easy. That same evening, while I was editing our second expose video, the power went out. Total blackout. I looked outside, only our house was dark. Grandpa grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. That's when we saw it. Someone had cut our power line. Clean. On purpose. We called the sheriff. Again. They came fast, checked the damage, and found boot prints in the backyard. This wasn't intimidation anymore. This was escalation. Clarissa checked our security cameras. The footage showed two men in black hoodies, faces covered, walking up to the side of the house with wire cutters. And get this, one of them had a badge clipped to his belt. Not a real one. Another fake. They're getting desperate, Clarissa said. They know their time is almost up. Grandpa didn't flinch. He pulled out an old case file from his personal cabinet, one he'd kept from a similar case back in the 90s. Fake security, extortion, fraud. He handed it to Clarissa. Let's show them what justice looks like, old school style. By now, our house felt more like a command center than a home. Clarissa had her laptop open 24/7. Grandpa had his old police scanner turned on, listening to local chatter. And me? I was piecing together video proof, screenshots, voice recordings, every brick to build the wall that would trap Valerie for good. But then came a new twist. One of the fake HOA cops turned on her. His name was Jeremy. He showed up in the middle of the night. No knocking, just headlights in our driveway and a nervous man sweating through his jacket. I didn't sign up for this, he said. Valerie's gone crazy. She's deleting files, paying people to stay quiet. But I kept backups. I need protection. We let him in. He handed Clarissa a USB drive. It had full internal texts between him and Valerie. Instructions to shake up homeowners. Threats. Even photos of people she wanted watched. But one message changed everything. Valerie had texted him 2 days ago. Cut their power. Scare the kid. Old man won't last much longer. I froze. She wasn't just trying to ruin us. She wanted Grandpa gone. Jeremy saw my face and said, I didn't know it'd go that far. I swear. I thought we were just enforcing dumb HOA stuff. Clarissa pulled him aside. If you want to stay out of prison, you're going to testify. He agreed. But before we could celebrate, we got a phone call from Mrs. Jenkins. She was sobbing. They took my car, she cried. 2 men. Said my registration didn't meet HOA code. They had clipboards and everything. What do I do? Grandpa snatched the phone. We're coming right now. When we got there, the scene was worse than we imagined. Her yard was trashed. The mailbox was torn out. And the car? Gone. Clarissa checked nearby traffic cams through a contact boom. Spotted the stolen car on a back road heading toward a private storage lot owned by Valerie's cousin. We rushed there. Clarissa called the sheriff on the way and said, Tell them this time. Bring backup. Bring media if they can. Outside the storage lot, we found at least 6 cars, all registered to homeowners who'd filed HOA complaints in the last year, stolen under fake rules, hidden like trophies. And Valerie? She pulled in while we were standing there. She didn't run. She stepped out in her designer heels and sunglasses like she was above the law. "You people really think you've won?" she said. This HOA was falling apart. I brought order. Respect. Grandpa stared at her. Calm, firm. "You brought fear. That's not respect. That's control. And you're done." Right then, sheriff deputies pulled in. They read her the charges on the spot. Fraud, impersonation, grand theft, elder intimidation, abuse of authority. But before they cuffed her, she looked at Grandpa and smirked. "You think you're the hero here? You're just an old man who couldn't let go of control." Grandpa smiled. "Wrong. I'm an old man who knew what real justice looked like. And it's never late to remind people." They took her away, screaming, as reporters clicked photos and asked questions. That moment felt like the world was finally listening. But the storm wasn't over yet. Clarissa checked her phone. More names. More HOA members involved in Valerie's ring. "It goes deeper," she whispered. "We just hit the queen. But the whole board's infected." Grandpa looked at her and said, "Then we burn the whole deck." After Valerie's arrest, we thought it was over. But the next morning, Clarissa burst through the front door with a look on her face I'd never seen before. Not even during the darkest parts of this case. "They're covering for her," she said. "The HOA board, they just appointed her assistant as the new president. They're pretending nothing happened." "What?" I said. "She's in jail." Grandpa stood up, slow but steady. "They're cleaning house, replacing names, keeping the structure." Clarissa nodded. "The assistant? His name's Craig Benson. He's been funneling money from 3 different neighborhoods using ghost companies." Valerie was just the front. And then came another twist. The HOA sent us a new violation. Hand-delivered. It read, "Unauthorized media equipment on private property. Subject to $10,000 fine." They were targeting my camera. The same camera that had filmed every crime, every fake cop, every threat. "They're desperate," Clarissa said. "They know we're close to tearing it all down." Grandpa looked at me. "It's time we fight the way they fear most, public." That night, we uploaded everything. Every file. Every video. We posted it on YouTube, on local Facebook groups, even sent it anonymously to every homeowner on the HOA mailing list. We titled it, "Exposing the Fake HOA. Real Cops Don't Threaten Grandpas." Within hours, it went viral. People began speaking up. A man from 3 towns over sent us a message. They fined me $12,000 for putting up an American flag. Said it was non-standard material. I had to sell my bike to pay it. A single mom wrote, "They said I violated parking rules. Towed my car during a snowstorm. My kids missed school. I thought it was just me." And then the ultimate twist. One of the current HOA board members messaged Clarissa. He wanted to meet. Secretly. We met him in the back booth of a small diner outside town. He looked tired, pale, broken. "I didn't know how deep it went," he whispered. "I joined the board to fix sidewalks, not to ruin lives. But when I questioned Valerie, she threatened to release pictures of my son. Said she hacked my home Wi-Fi." He slid a folder across the table. Meeting minutes. Unedited. Bank logs. The names of every HOA president she's funded through fake companies. Clarissa's hands shook. Grandpa asked quietly, "Why are you giving us this?" "Because I want to sleep again," he said. "I want to look my son in the eye. We had it all now, the whole blueprint of the scam." Clarissa packaged it into a single explosive report and sent it to the state attorney general, the media, even national outlets. And while all that was happening, something else started. Neighbors, homeowners, veterans, families. They came to our ranch with food, flowers, support. One man hugged Grandpa and said, "You didn't just protect your land. You protected all of us." But the board wasn't done yet. The next day, Grandpa received a court summons. The HOA was suing him for defamation. "They're trying to silence us again," I said. Grandpa smiled, slow and steady. "Let them try. This time we're not alone." The court date arrived faster than expected. Grandpa wore his old police dress shirt, the one with the faded badge still stitched on the sleeve. I wore my camera rig around my neck, not to film, but as a message. Clarissa came in with 2 laptops and 3 file boxes. But we weren't alone. When we walked up the courthouse steps, there were over 100 people waiting outside, holding signs, chanting, "HOA isn't above the law. Justice for homeowners." Word had spread fast. Our video had hit 1 million views overnight. News vans lined the streets. Inside the courtroom, Valerie's cousin, the same city clerk who helped her, sat next to Craig, the new HOA president. Their lawyers looked smug, confident. They didn't think we had a chance. Then the judge walked in. To our surprise, it was the same retired judge Grandpa had helped years ago. He'd been brought back temporarily to handle this case due to its media attention. When he saw Grandpa, his face softened. Just for a moment. The HOA's lawyer started. He called Grandpa a danger to neighborhood peace, accused him of slander, said the videos were edited to mislead the public. But when it was our turn, Clarissa stood up, calm, clear, and deadly. "We'll prove every frame is real," she said. She plugged in her laptop and hit play. One by one, we played clips. Valerie ordering Jeremy to scare the kid. Fake cops cutting our power line. The stolen cars in the storage lot. Elderly homeowners crying. The altered violation letters and bank statements. Gasps filled the courtroom. But then, the biggest twist hit. Clarissa played a secret voice recording, sent by the scared board member from the diner. It was Craig. "If Jenkins doesn't pay the fine, we take her car again. Let's see how long she lasts without it." His own voice, in front of the judge, in front of the cameras. Craig's lawyer tried to object, but it was over. The judge slammed the gavel. "Enough." He turned to Grandpa. "Mr. Reeves, your actions were not defamation. They were whistleblowing. This HOA didn't just overstep. It abused." He dismissed the case instantly. But it didn't end there. The judge stood. "In fact, based on the evidence, I'm forwarding this case to the state attorney. Criminal charges are appropriate." Gasps again. Craig's face turned white. As officers approached him in the courtroom, he tried to actually run, but 2 deputies grabbed him before he hit the doors. And the people outside? They cheered. Loud. So loud, the windows shook. Valerie, Craig, and their whole network, they weren't just exposed now. They were finished. Grandpa walked outside with his chin high. For the first time in weeks, he looked lighter. Reporters rushed up. "Mr. Reeves, how does it feel to win?" He just said, "It's not about winning. It's about making sure no one loses their peace to people like them ever again." A week after the court case, our small town had completely changed. The HOA headquarters was empty. The for lease sign swinging in the wind like a white flag. All the fake cops were fired. Some faced charges. Others fled the town quietly, hoping to escape shame. But the victory felt bigger than just taking them down. It felt like we woke people up. Grandpa stood at the edge of the ranch one morning, watching the sun rise over the hills. He held a cup of coffee and that old photo of him in uniform, back when he wore the badge for real. "You think they'll ever come back?" I asked. He sipped slowly. "People like them always do. But people like us, we'll be ready." Clarissa was already working on something new, a group called Homeowners for Justice. It started with 10 people, then 50, then over 1,000 across the country joined online. She didn't just expose the HOA, she became the face of something much bigger. As for me, I got an email from YouTube that week. "Your video has crossed 3.4 million views. Eligible for monetization." Crazy how telling the truth, raw and honest, could go that far. But the biggest moment came during a local town meeting. Grandpa was invited to speak. He didn't want to at first. Said he was too old for speeches. But Clarissa insisted. He stepped onto the stage. No microphone, no fancy slides. Just him, in front of families, teens, neighbors. And he said, "When I was a cop, I thought protecting the law meant chasing bad guys. But I learned something recently. Sometimes the bad guys wear name tags and sit in comfy offices. They use paperwork instead of guns. Fines instead of fear. The room was dead silent. He continued, "Justice isn't about punishing people. It's about standing up even when your legs shake. It's about protecting the little guy. The woman with no car. The kid with a camera. The veteran with nothing but memory and land." Then, a little girl in the front row raised her hand and asked, "Are you a hero?" Grandpa smiled. "No, but I raised one," he said, pointing at me. That moment, I'll never forget it, because that's when it hit me. The real fight wasn't against just one HOA or one corrupt president. It was about reminding people that silence helps the wrong people win. That even when you're tired, scared, or just one voice, you can still make noise. You can still matter. Moral lesson: never let titles or fake authority scare you into silence. Sometimes the loudest power doesn't come from a badge. It comes from the truth. Stand your ground, protect what's right, and never underestimate the strength of one voice backed by justice.